Hey guys, it's Lane here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be talking about Conan the Barbarian. We're going to be talking about the two movies from the 80s starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I watched them recently because I saw that they were on Netflix and they were about to be removed from Netflix. I'm not really sure if they're still on Netflix right now or not, because sometimes, Netflix says they're going to remove stuff, but they don't actually finish getting rid of it until a certain time after they say that it was going to be removed. And so I'm not sure if you search Netflix, you can find them right now or not, but I know for sure that I watched them and that I didn't hate them. I wouldn't necessarily say I loved both of them, but I really did at least like the first one. And I think that the reason I didn't like the second one was because it changed the tone of the story, of the characters, in order to kind of appeal to a more general audience. If I remember correctly, I saw an article about it, I think, that said that the original Conan was an R-rated movie, and then the second movie was more of a PG type movie, although PG for the standards of the time, which would now be more PG-13, getting into the R rating. And you definitely notice this because everything about movie 2 feels way more simplified than movie 1, and there's moments where things are just played for jokes instead of for, honesty or for the sake of having a good moment with the characters. And it made the second movie very difficult to watch. I did power through and finish it, but compared to the first one, it kind of sucks. So Conan the Barbarian is the first movie. It's from 1982. And even though it took me a little bit to get interested in the movie, I really did enjoy it. It actually reminds me a lot of The Northman, or The Northman reminds me of Conan the Barbarian now in retrospect, knowing that Conan the Barbarian came first, where you basically start with this child from a little group of pretty inoffensive barbarians, or just like tribes people, who get destroyed by this Tulsa Doom character, and he is the lone survivor. And so this boy sees his mother killed in front of him. He sees his family, his tribesmen, everyone that he knows killed in front of him, and he gets enslaved. And so he grows up in this slave camp, kind of turning this wheel endlessly, and eventually he grows up to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, this giant hulking man. And so one day the guy that is in front of, who is in charge of this spinning wheel, decides to take him into a fighting pit. And Akira the wizard tells us through the narration that through this fighting pit, through the fact that for the first time in his life, Conan is being praised or shown, value, shown that he has value through the accolades that winning these fights gives him, he learns self-worth, and he gains access to literature and people and women and thought, and he becomes human after many, many years of basically being an animal. And eventually he gets released kind of oddly from his servitude, and he is sent away, and he goes away, and he somehow ends up kind of interacting with his god Crom in some way, in some kind of symbolic way, and he gains a sword. And so he eventually becomes friends with this Mongolian-esque, Chinese-esque kind of guy called Sabutai, and they become thieves. And this more or less does follow the Howard interpretation, or the original Howard mythos, where Conan is basically a thief, a king, a warrior, whatever you want to think he could be, he basically was, right? And it's interesting because Sabutai and Conan become friends, become members of each other's like group, family, whatever you want to call it. There is a certain level of found family between the two of them, but they end up meeting a woman. Her name is Valeria, and in this movie, I think Valeria is actually a combination of both Valeria and Belit, the two main women in Conan's mythos, the two that he cares about the most, because she is like a cool, thief type character like Conan, which would be the Ballot side. And then she's also like this very caring woman, which I think is the Valeria side of things. And I'm not really sure exactly because I haven't really read all of the Conan mythos, all of the original Conan stories. But my understanding from, a lot of different interpretations of people is that is kind of the combination of Bella and Valeria that makes itself into the Valeria in the movie. And she is by far the best character in both of these movies. Better than Conan, better than Sabutai, better than Akiro, better than Zula or Tulsa Doom or any of the other characters. Valeria is the heart and soul of the first movie. Everything about her and the way she affects Conan and the way she affects Sabutai and the way that she is ultimately a representation of Conan's mother and Conan's love and Conan's humanity and Conan's possible future, and the fact that he now suffered loss in the most unimaginable way possible with her death is really, really, really good. I love Valeria as a character. I think she is amazing. She's the best thing that come out of these movies. And of course, she's not necessarily the best written character ever because I wouldn't really say that the Conan movies are that good. They don't really have that like high, like Star Wars type value in the kind of mythological archetypes that their characters portray. I think they're mostly just kind of like, okay, we need these generic people, let's make them work, and it does. And Valeria is by far the best one, and I really like how she changes the movie from this kind of middling thing into this film that I really, really like. And so when she dies, Conan kind of gets the final impetus to, do the thing that he had been trying to do this whole movie, kind of more or less because he just ended up in that moment, in that situation, which is kill Tulsa Doom and, of course, avenge his mother and actually avenge Valeria more than anything, right? And so when that ends, the movie finishes, and I quite liked it. The only real complaint I have with the movie and with the second one is that sometimes they take too long kind of having these establishing shots, and I don't think that they're establishing shots necessarily. I don't know the proper terminology, but basically there are these moments where the camera just stays and we see the character repeat this motion or kind of do something over and over again or kind of just like stand. And it takes longer than a modern movie would. And it's not in like an exciting, like, oh, we are soaking in the moment. It's more in the, we just need to make this movie feel this long, so we're going to keep these scenes. And I don't like how that feels. I don't really enjoy that because it makes a movie that already isn't that good feel worse because it intentionally slows down. And I don't think that really works. I don't really like that aspect of, older movies. But ultimately, Conan the Barbarian is a good movie. Conan the Destroyer, the second movie, it is by far worse. There's some elements here that are kind of cool, like the situation that happens between Conan and Jenna is pretty interesting. I like this Jenna character. She is a naive kind of young princess type character, but she also is kind of like someone that just kind of got screwed over by her circumstance. But the plot line I don't think is as good. The secondary characters aren't as good. First of all, we get rid of Sabutai and we get introduced to some other random ass character who reminds me, I don't know the actor's name, but the guy that shows up in every Adam Sandler movie. And I don't know, I just didn't like this character at all. He spoke like he was trying to be very kind of meaningful and poetic, but nothing he ever said was interesting. I didn't like Zula because even though the actress is pretty interesting looking and, she was attractive, but she also had this kind of like ruggedness to her. The way that she portrayed whatever it is that she was supposed to be portraying felt really icky. Like it was like, from a modern perspective, it didn't necessarily feel racist, but it did feel like you're doing something weird with this, and I'm not really sure what it is, and I don't like it. Now, they did that with Akiro and Sabutai in the first movie, but generally, I think that the kind of Orientalism that they kind of chose to use for those characters wasn't necessarily like the worst thing ever, because it does give these characters an air of mystery and an air of wisdom that is interesting and kind of like a positive, whereas Sula just looked like came off like really badly, and I didn't really like that character aspect of her. But she was interesting because between Jenna and Sula, you almost could have had Valeria. And so I think that in that aspect, the casting and the usage of these characters was good, but I just didn't like the characters in this. There's this guy called Bombata, who I think was a basketball player because he was huge. Like, he was like half a foot, like 2 feet taller. No, like a foot taller than Conan. And it was insane. It was crazy because he was like 2 feet taller than Jenna. And it was really interesting to see him there. But he wasn't a good actor. And the kind of role that he had was pretty lame. He was just this like silent, guard type character, but got sent on a mission anyways. The action was worse. The fact that they decided to stick with jokes instead of actually trying to make a meaningful kind of serious moment sucked. And again, those really weird shots where they just see the same kind of thing happening over and over again. There was this like shot where Conan is in this like house of mirrors, and you just see him going for like like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, dude, come on, just move on from this. I don't care that you're looking and seeing that the wizard is in every pane, because I understand that after you do it 3 times. It's like, it was really not that great. And then he punches a camel for no reason, and I think it's a callback to the first movie, but in the second movie it's played off as a joke instead of just Conan being drunk, and it doesn't work that well. And then there's this conversation with Conan and Jenna where Conan is drunk, but it's just not good. It's just not enjoyable. And so the Conan the Destroyer movie, even though it had some small elements that could have been interesting, the execution was really, really bad. I did not enjoy my time with Conan the Destroyer. But overall, the Conan movies are interesting. They're fun to an extent. And I think that the first one is definitely a good movie. The second one is not. It's just like subpar compared to the first one. So if I ever find the first one on DVD in like a used movie store, like movie trading company, I'll probably pick it up. If I ever find the second one, I will probably not pick it up because they didn't like it. But the completionist in me might actually end up getting both, just because I don't want to have one and not the other. And that's just kind of like a problem that I have. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Conan the Barbarian. I know that it's not really a relevant topic right now, but I think it's fun and interesting. And I was interested in this because of the new Conan the Barbarian comic book that's coming out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys have seen these movies. And most of you that have seen them were probably children from the 80s and 90s. So let me know what your perspective was from, when you were younger. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.